Hi there, this is Chris from MoneyHub, and this video looks at travel money and cash versus cards for traveling to Bali. So the currency there, of course, is the Indonesian rupiah. It's an unusual currency with a high denomination, which means it's very easy to get lost of what actually is costing what when you translate it back to New Zealand dollars, because one New Zealand dollar equals around 9,000 rupiah. So if you see something priced at like 25,000, it does take a while to think, okay, what does that actually cost? If something's a million rupiah, what's that? So it's perfectly normal to be a bit sort of unfamiliar and a bit stumped with that. But this video just shows you what you can get for your New Zealand dollar and the best way to maximize the amount that you get to spend in Bali. So I'm going to go straight into it, and we're going to have a look at the different options for using cash cards and what the different providers will give you. So first up here, we can see that number one currency is exactly like Travelex. It's one of those click and collect or buy at the airport type kiosks. Now, just be aware that if you do go to the airport, it may not be these rates. These rates may be lower, which means you'll get less rupiah for your New Zealand dollar. This is using the current rates that they do for click and collect, which means you pre-buy it. The purpose of that is that so you know exactly what you're getting, but also the foreign currency kiosk can make the order and finalize it, and also minimize the risk of holding too much currency if it goes up and down, which often the rupiah does. So let's just go straight into it here. We can see that the rate they're offering is going to be 8312.9, and that means that for every $1 that you have of New Zealand dollars, you will get then 8,312.9 rupiah. If I go and look at what Travelex is offering, now this is all at the same time, we're in live rates here, then we can see it's going to be less than that. It's going to be 8,099. So around 8,100 if you round up. It's a lot lower than the 8,300. There's about 113 rupiah in it, which is a percentage or so, about 1.3% lower. If we then look at Westpac, which is the only bank providing foreign currency now, but only to their customers. This is if you want to change New Zealand dollars into cash. They don't. So it's not a currency that they offer for the rupiah, so just be aware of that. They do offer the Singaporean dollar, they do offer the Thai baht, but they don't offer, and they do offer some Asian currencies, I believe. Yes, we've got Hong Kong dollar here, and we've got Japanese yen, but not the Indonesian rupiah. It's just because Bali and widely Indonesia is not that popular for New Zealanders year round, and so they don't want to be holding a lot of it, on hand at their branches. So that's why you won't see it. That leaves then the option of the travel money card, but I just want to show the direct comparison of the exchange rates. So here you can see, and of course these rates are live, that one New Zealand dollar is going to equal 9269 rupiah. That's before fees. Well, of course they charge their 0.56%, which they then deduct, and that leaves you with the exchange rate of about 9,217 or 18 rupiah. So that is about 1,000 rupiah higher for every dollar than the likes of Travelex, which is actually more than 1,000, and the likes of also the number one currency. That shows you a massive difference there, which we find quite remarkable, seeing as though people will go and buy rupiah and pick it up at the airport or get it sent to them or whatever, and actually lose out straight away. So they're losing around 12% of what they could be getting just for the convenience. But we would say that Wise's exchange rates are actually very convenient, and the whole process of having a debit card, which you can use in Bali and also withdraw, is incredibly convenient as well. Now, there is another option, which is your cards, your bank cards from MasterCard, or issued through MasterCard and issued through Visa. But these exchange rates are a little bit interesting because they don't include the bank fees, and they're pretty much a plain rate. It's encouraging you to put in a bank fee, but when you do that, it's not clear whether or not that will be the fee, because the banks, of course, have their own kind of margins going through them and things like that, but we've just used those for comparison. And we can see 9212, and the MasterCard rate is 939, which is actually higher than the Wise card, but we know that that isn't the situation because people will be paying fees on top of that. For example, not that Kiwi Bank uses MasterCard, but here you can see it's like 2.5% for the converted currency. There's also ATM withdrawal fees as well. So there is another option beyond that. So you've got, just to recap here, you've got your Travelex, you've got your number one currency for the cash, you've got your Wise, which is giving you more than 1,000 rupiah more per dollar, which is quite a lot for every dollar that you change compared to the Travelex pre-order rates. And then you've got your rates from the likes of MasterCard and Visa, subject to bank fees. We haven't compared any other travel debit card here, or sorry, travel money card, because we've done the research, which we've comprehensively put here. And you can see that we found that Wise just had the best exchange rate, second to none. So that's why we're quite a big fan of it. And we want people to at least consider it as an option. We hear lots of positive stories, but it's not for everyone, of course. So we just sort of pointed out that this does offer much better exchange rates. Now, if you go through our guide, which I have a separate video of me talking and explaining it all, which I do recommend having a look at, then you'll see that I also mention that there's a Kuta money exchange. And there's a couple of these big chains around Bali, and they will be offering New Zealand dollar changes. So they're buying New Zealand dollars, and then for that, you'll get rupiah. The rate there is actually quite good. It's 8,900. So it's much higher that, for every dollar that, if you want to buy, the rupiah, then you can see that, for example, if you had 1,000 New Zealand dollars in cash that you want to change, then you'll get 8,900 rupiah. That is super convenient. And while the rate is still below the likes of Wise, which is around, 9,200, it's a lot better than the 8,100 you're going to be offered by Travelex, and the 8,300 that you're going to be offered by number one currency. So the Indonesians are very competitive with their exchange rates in terms of the ways to buy it, and certainly that if you do want to do it at these type of places, we're not endorsing them at all. It's just that these chains are very, very savvy with their rates. They do want people to exchange with them because, of course, they make money from it. But at the same time, they don't seem to have the high margins that you'll find from the established players within New Zealand, being the Travelex and the number one. You can also go through. We have a list of scams, which unfortunately do come up about when people change money. So be aware that it's not as arguably as safe as doing it in New Zealand, but of course the rates are a lot better. So that's the summary there of the different rates that you'll get. And we've published this to really give people like an indication that if you're going to use your card from the bank, you're going to be subject to fees, and with no idea what the exchange rate that they use actually is. With Wise, completely transparent, and of course is the highest rate that we can see transparently, and also quite convenient with the fact that there's an app, and you can also store Indonesian rupiah as well. So you can buy them in advance should you want to, and have them in a wallet. Of course, if you don't spend them, you can transfer it back to New Zealand dollars as well. And then looking at these rates that you'll get if you pre-buy and collect at the airport, the fact that they are much lower, and we don't want people to lose 10-12% of their holiday money just for the convenience of flying in to Bali airport or to Denpasar with a whole bunch of cash on them. It's much better to wait and to use the ATMs there. Obviously not a dodgy ATM and not one with high fees. We've also got guides to that as well on our main summary of the Indonesian and Bali travel money. But just to be aware that there's lots of ways you can get ripped off, and we don't want to see people lose money there. So thanks very much for watching. If you do have any questions, we're highly responsive to any comments down below, so please leave them. And it really does help us to improve our guides and just improve the understanding, because of course we want this to be widely understood, so people have their New Zealand dollars go a lot further than they currently are if they are using some of the poor value FX services. Thanks very much. And if you're traveling to Bali, have a nice trip.